Hello, good day. What you know it? Working on this bloody old girl, eh?
Alright, and so what I'm looking at is the wires I'm trying to figure out, because a lot of them have been hacked and chopped off of my filter housing, and I'm just jumping this to make sure my bulbs are still good, so I'm troubleshooting this system. Okay, I am making this video specifically for the fuel housing and everything related, the wires and the sensors and what it's supposed to look like. Starting off, these three wires looks like this. Now mine, somebody else has been in here and they did a bunch of no-nos, but the wires, this one that appears to be black, I did cut it back a little bit. It appears to be a darker color, or at least black, I can't tell. This wire, if you look at the head on it, looks like that. This one goes to the water and fuel sensor, which is on the factory setup that is on the bottom down here. Since fuel is a hydrocarbon, it is non-conductive. If you look right over here, you can see my little experiment. Now this is gasoline, so it does have a lower flash point. This is very, very dangerous what I'm doing. Do not try this at home. Okay, so all this is a test light. You can see that it's right there. Looks like that, right? And all I'm going to do, there are vapors in the air and this is very, very dangerous. You can see that my test light works. Okay, so then you can also see that I have a yellow jumper wire right here. And again, this is gasoline. I don't have any diesel in a gas can or whatever, so I'm just limited on my resources. So now you can see how my clips are touching fuel. You'll see I have a test light here, same exact one, no games, no gimmicks. Completing the circuit, yellow wire is my positive, comes all the way over here. Again, do not try this at home, because if you do this wrong, this will not be pretty. But yeah, so gasoline is not conductive, neither is diesel. So which takes me back to this wire that appears black. Again, it looks like that. There's your water sensor. And water is actually conductive, especially if there's impurities in it. And if I had to guess, I could not find a good accurate print. I kept getting cross references with Power Stroke. This is not Power Stroke, this is IDI. And if I had used my common sense, there is a light bulb upstream toward the positive, and that light bulb you want to check and make sure he's good. And it feeds, it's looking for negative, 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 negative. So, and when this goes down, the whole thing's negative, chassis, engine, everything, even the fuel filter is negative. It's chassis, okay, it's ground. And then so, since the water is conductive, that sensor, it can only complete the circuit and illuminate your light in there that says there's water and fuel if the conductor, water, gets in the bottom of this. And you're like, well, how do you know it won't go in the top? Well, water is much more dense, and being water is much more dense, it's like oil. When oil spills, you'll notice that oil always sits on the top when they, like in the Gulf or something, when they have a spill, it never sinks, it always rides on the top. And so fuel is lighter, and so therefore the sensor is on the bottom. So that's why it is on the bottom. Make sense? I hope so. Alright, so this was hard to figure out because this is the way I found this truck. Everything chopped off, nothing hooked up right. Alright, so let's keep on moving along. So then the blue wire right here, he has, I can't tell if he has a stripe on it or not. Anyways, the blue wire, that one is your heater. Your heater sits in here in the top of the cap like that. And a lot of people just plug them because it leaks over time. And, you know, this truck is pretty old. So there's plenty of other videos on how to do a delete on that. But yeah, so the blue wire, it kind of has a bigger looking cap. Goes right there on top. But yeah, that one, this is a positive wire. And there's just the element in there, and then the element grounds out. It's just a one wire. The same exact one as the water and fuel sensor. Okay, does that make sense? hopefully everything does make sense. So yeah, I guess you can say that this one's also the positive if you want to look at it like that. He's just looking for a ground, same exact thing as the blue one. All right. And then the green wire that has a red stripe on it, he goes to the vacuum switch. It's also just a fuel filter clog switch, same thing. But what it does is this runs off of the pressure in the housing, and if it's clogged, basically there's some magic ports happening on the inside of here, and it will tell you that your fuel filter is clogged, and it just pushes it back. There's a little diaphragm in there, and yes, it does leak. If it leaks, you need to just replace it. They're expensive. It's like 40 bucks or something. But it's another one wire, and that one, I'm laying around here somewhere. He's another L. It looks like, here we are. Looks like this. That was me trying to figure out which color it is, because finding stuff on the internet over this whole thing and IDIs is becoming really hard to find, and not many people make videos on them. So here we are. Okay, and random. I was looking at this. If your ignition is on, you should have 12 volts going to the orange wire, and then your yellow wire, so you'd be positive right there on your orange, and then your white wire is the one to illuminate your dash that stuff is not working right, like when the engine's running, saying that it's claims that the alternator's not putting out. Random. Okay, so back to this guy. So he's the positive, and again he's the green wire, and he plugs in here, and he's again looking for ground. So if this circuit's completed and this little magic guy right here makes contact, and it will look like this. Alright, that green wire, your pressure switch, will illuminate right there. And my thing looks like this. So if you have a different year, I can't guarantee that it's going to be in that bottom right corner. There's that. And here is this guy I had earlier. Okay, so your water and fuel, just ignore that, that's on a different video. Water and fuel, these are separate. Looks like that in the back, right? They're separate. Okay, water and fuel, power comes from somewhere upstream, comes out, and then goes all the way to your sensor. Make sense? Alright, so here we are moving right along. You should not have this little nipple. I actually just soldered this lead into the hole like you would in plumbing, and you just use some flux, salt, and lead solder, that is, not for wires. There's many different kinds of solders. This is your outlet, and it goes to about 5 to 8 psi, give or take, only, and it goes down to your injection pump, and then the injection pump steps it up to several hundreds psi, 5 to 800 if I'm not mistaken psi. Alright, that's a different video. I'm going to stop describing that. That's just a compression fitting. So that's the outlet. Okay. Oh, and one more quick little tip. I did want to point out, if you are troubleshooting, don't be afraid to pop this line loose, and just make sure that it's leaving here, and then like I said, that'll be 5 to 8 psi. So it'll kind of squirt. Not that bad. You're okay. So I just wanted to throw that last little tip in. And then this is your Schrader valve. So this is where you can hook a gauge up and see what your PSI is on here, but also when this is running, when your whole engine's running, you should, and if you were just coming over here to verify, you should push that little needle inside of the Schrader valve, and you'll have fuel squirting out. And when that pulsing squirting out is from the mechanical pump that's on the side of the engine. That's right, we also have that one that's down there. He's the guy that's in charge of making a skeet out there. So if you're not having a skeet, shoot out there, then if you're having an issue with either a blockage in your line, no fuel, or the diaphragm down there on it's bad. So you just have to go through the steps to figure that out. But that's what that's for, is hooking up the gauge and to get air out. You can also use this guy to get air out. Okay, next. The other thing that you'll notice is I have this capped off. This is a no-no. This is your return, or the recirculate. If you look on all these, you can see the injectors. I have 8, right? You get that. Okay, okay, okay. You'll notice that that's like that. This is a return. If you look over there, and somebody's been in here and they've definitely changed it. Okay, so if you look all the way back, this rail that my hand's on goes all the way back there, and it returns back to the tank. That's correct. However, per manufacturer, you are supposed to have a T, which is going to be this guy that's capped, and he is to return, well, any of them. They all do the same thing. It's all going to be equal pressure. The return line, you can really tap off anywhere. He is to go back to this guy for 2 reasons. One, what's happening is, since my return line is blocked, is my pump down below. This is manufactured. This is reading from there. I'm just reiterating what they already said. This pump has to work harder now because it's pushing all that fuel back to the fuel tank instead of recirculating it to go back up to here for recirculation. This is a no-no to be capped. Secondly, this is here if you have any fuel that's trapped in your rails up here or in the pump. If you put it through here, some magic happens in the system. I'm not going to get into it. It gets really complicated, so I'm going to keep it simple. It gets rid of the fuel and it recirculates and it pushes the air. Don't ask me how it does it. It just does it. That's what manufacturer says. And it pushes that air back to the tank. So for this to be capped off is a really, really, really bad mistake. I don't know why somebody would have capped it off. This is those 2 reasons you're supposed to have this thing hooked up. So I will be hooking this back up to recirculate as it's designed. Okay. And the other thing is, here is your aftermarket fuel filter 33417, and I got rid of the cap. This one's deleted, and you can see on the bottom that if you was trying to troubleshoot, you can make sure there wasn't any fuel in your system. I'm sorry, water in your system. If it was to open this up, it wouldn't smell like diesel. It would smell like off. So basically that would be water or contamination. You can inspect your fuel there. So again, usually factory is they have that big silver one on, and you'll have this wire connect in the bottom, and it'll be that big silver cap. Okay, makes sense? It'll look different. Be a different number than this, if I'm not mistaken. Make sense? Hope so. And last but not least, if I've covered everything, this is the inlet line. Comes from your mechanical pump down below that mounts on the side of the engine. Comes up, and then that pressurizes the whole manifold. Make sense? I hope it does. I hope it does, because if it doesn't, I do not know what to tell you. This is my video on how to what it works like that. Thank you for watching. By subscribing, you support independent channels like myself. I make videos which tend to be, or try to be, helpful and helping you with your problems so you can get on with your way. Please support me.